Welcome to the Oak and Onion Board Game Podcast, where we discuss the modern board gaming hobby and other things we're currently nerding out about. I'm Chris.
And I'm Joel.
And we are here to remind you that whether across the country or across the table, the best things in life are enjoyed with friends. On today's episode, we'll talk conventions and gaming weekends, put Perch from Inside Up Games on the chopping block for review, play a game of Two Truths and a Lie with 2026 releases, and ask the age-old board game question, how much is too much? But first, let's talk about what we've been up to. Joel, it's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too.
What you been doing lately?
Oh, well, I've been stressed lately, Chris. I don't know. life has seemed to be a lot right now.
Life is lifing.
I had a dream last night. I had to pay a termite warranty recently, and I had a dream last night that they called me and said it was actually due a month ago, and so your warranty lapsed, and so you owe us $8,000 to restart it.
Ooh, that's terrifying.
It was terrifying. I woke up at like 4 a.m. I was like, okay, what am I stressed about right now?
And probably didn't go back to sleep after that.
That's right.
Oh, gosh.
No, I'm doing good. I've just been pretty busy with work and things like that. We just had spring break, but it was not quite as restful as I hoped, mostly for good reasons, as I'll talk about here shortly. But came back to work this week and it hit me with a vengeance. So recovering. But how are you doing?
I'm good, man. We've been recovering too, because we didn't sleep enough last weekend at TokenCon, and but that's about all we've had going on. My mother-in-law's been here. She came to stay for the week and keep the kids for the weekend, and then her and Caitlin have been doing a ton of projects around the house this week. They repainted the kids' bathroom. They cleaned out and reorganized the living room. We got one corner where when we homeschooled, all of our homeschool stuff, and I mean, it was just a ton of crap on 2 bookcases. It's all gone now. And a shelf that I built Caitlin for Christmas is in its place, which was the plan all along. But I came home yesterday and our living room was just like empty, and it looks really good, but I was just like, holy cow, I didn't realize how like overwhelming that corner was until right now. So, but you know, it's great. Trying to catch up on sleep and looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Well, have you been, I know we'll talk a lot about games and things here shortly. Have you been watching anything good lately?
We have. So, well, a little bit because of the convention and my mother-in-law being here. We haven't watched a ton of stuff like we normally do, but we at least have started the new Scrubs series that's on Hulu. Huge Scrubs fan. Loved the show. I even enjoyed the last season that they did that everybody hated. It wasn't the same show. I understand it wasn't the same and it wasn't as good, but I just love the characters and love that show. And I feel like just the 2 or 3 episodes of the new one that we've watched, they've managed to bring it into a modern day, but still managed to keep the feel of what made Scrubs in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And so I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm looking forward to watching more.
We're watching that too. We've enjoyed it also. I do miss the janitor. Janitor's not on it.
Yeah, that's
anymore,
a bummer.
But yeah, we're enjoying it. We did a rewatch recently of Scrubs, and we did not finish it. We made it through like season 6 or 7. We were like, all right, it's starting to feel a little samey. So I wasn't sure I would be interested in the reboot, but I'm liking it so far. I think like you said, it's capturing kind of the feel of the original, but also feels a little bit more updated, and maybe also the fact that, you know, I'm now an adult also and dealing with adult problems, and so their adult problems feel a little bit more relatable, you know. So
like termite contracts and nightmares.
Exactly.
Nice.
We've also sign of adulthood is
absolutely,
the termite contract nightmare. You're younger than me, Chris. You'll get there. Don't worry.
Oh, come on. Good times. We've also been watching through the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe as a family. It's been like 2 years running at this point because life and breaks and trips, and then the kids the past couple of summers have taken turns all going to grandma and grandpa's house in Louisiana, and so there's been long stretches of time where we haven't been able to watch it, but we're nearing the end of what all is out right now, which is really exciting for me because we're finally to the point where everything that's left I haven't seen yet.
Oh, nice.
Because we had started watching it all, I was like, well, I'll just wait till we get there and watch it all as a family. I didn't know it was going to take us this long to get there, but we recently, the most recent thing we watched was the Ironheart series,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people didn't enjoy it. I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I enjoyed the story, and I really think she's an interesting character. She makes a lot of bad decisions, and I don't know that there was ever a redeeming moment for her bad decisions, but
Right.
um, I hope she's in more stuff moving forward because I do think she's an interesting character, and I think the actress did a really good job portraying that role. But it was an odd show. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it was like I don't know what I really think about it. I don't think it's as bad as like everybody has rated it and made it out to be. I think it's a
Yeah.
better show than that, and I think some of their gripes are what made the show. And if you don't like that, you're not gonna like it. But
Right.
it was interesting. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, yeah, we've seen it. I liked it fine. I mean, it's not something I as you talk about it, I'm like, "Oh, wait, what do I remember about that show?" Right? So it's not like a huge impact on me or anything, but
Hmm.
I did enjoy it, when we were watching it. I think a lot of the kind of contemporary Marvel stuff has just tried to not repeat the same formulas that they'd had, and so sometimes
Sure.
it's successful when it tries that, and sometimes it's less successful, and, like, I get it, and I want that, right? I want that to not have just the same kind of superhero beats over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
Um, and at the same time, I haven't seen anything that's hit quite as hard as their best stuff hits in a while. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Well, and it's
So
hard to top that. I mean,
yeah,
they spent so much time building up to Infinity War and
right,
the conclusion, Endgame. My mind went blank. I was like, "What's the name of it?" Endgame. There was so much time building up to that. I mean, I how you take that peak of experience and continue to replicate it,
right,
that's hard to do. And I
yeah,
feel like people have such high expectations for everything that it's almost unrealistic at times.
yeah,
And you mentioned that some of it hasn't had the success as others. My question that I kind of came to me as you were talking, but I've thought about it before is who determines that success though? Like, is it, Joe Blow down the street or somebody in their basement on their keyboard that doesn't like it because, She Hulk, that show is amazing. People
right,
hated it because misogyny, let's be
right,
real,
yeah,
right? Um, and it's just like, well, why do they get to determine what's good and what's successful when what's being put out is quality entertainment telling good stories? Those stories just don't resonate with you.
yeah, yeah,
And, I don't know. Because I thought She Hulk was amazing. Miss Marvel was great. Um, what was the other one? Moon Knight was fantastic.
Moon
And all
Knight's
three of
fun.
those series, I feel like people were very hit or miss on. And it's different, and that's okay. And we can all enjoy that.
Yeah. I think
But
when you get to Wonder Man, I'll be interested to hear your take. That's the most recent thing we've watched, and
yeah,
I really enjoyed it, and it took me a while to figure out, like, "Oh, this is a really different kind of story pattern, storyline that they're building here." 2 or 3 episodes in, I'm like, "Is there superhero stuff in this show or is there
right.
not?"
Yeah.
Right? And I ended up really kind of liking what they were doing with it and things, but I totally hear what you're saying. I mean, I think so much of the complaints, whether it's in Marvel or in, you know, people having most recently as we're recording, right, the new trailer for the HBO Harry Potter reboot has come out, and
Hmm.
every comment feels like it's it's an upset white man that's like, "Hey, this doesn't cater perfectly to me anymore," right?
Right.
And it's like, it's okay. There's plenty for you just because the story
Yeah.
features a woman or a person of color or a a woman of color doesn't mean that there's nothing you can get out of this, right? Or enjoy
Right.
or appreciate. So yeah, I have very little patience for the kind of misogynist, racist, otherist uh, kind of critiques of, well, it's not exactly what I thought it would be growing up as a white boy, and so therefore I'm unhappy with it. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
get
absolutely.
over it, man.
Yeah. Well, and just because there's a woman of color or, an alternative sexuality lifestyle, that doesn't mean you still can't enjoy the show, right?
Absolutely.
Like
Right.
that's
Exactly.
and if you don't like those things, then just don't watch it. That doesn't mean you have to go to the internet and harass people that
Right.
do enjoy it or that it does represent.
Right.
And I feel like that's a whole rabbit hole, but like that's part of the problem. As much good as social media can bring for connection and community, there's also a long list of really bad things because it gives everyone a microphone when not everybody needs to have a microphone or not everybody should use it in the way that it's being used.
Right.
Ironically, as I say, talking into a microphone, and some people
Two
may be
white guys
saying,
talking in
yeah.
microphones.
So, and listener, if you're out there saying who gave this guy a microphone, I bought it myself, but um, I'm also going to try to use that microphone for good things and
Yeah.
to prop up things that deserve to be propped up and to call out societal issues and whatnot to help open people's minds.
Yeah. I
So
it's funny, this is the last thing I'll say about this. I've been thinking this in my mind, but of course I never wanna type in get into an internet debate, right? Because
never,
it's just the worst.
yeah,
But, like, as I said, the HBO Harry Potter trailer came out, and the actor they have playing Snape is a black actor whose name I cannot pronounce, but I know him because I mean, I don't know him personally, but like, uh, I teach Shakespeare, and he plays Hamlet in this phenomenal production of Hamlet that the Royal Shakespeare Company did. And
okay,
so here's a role that is like defined as right a white Dane, and this black actor is playing it, and he's fantastic. It's the version I show my students because he's so incredible, right? And it's a good version for a lot of reasons, but his performance is definitely one of them. And so like all these complaints about like, well, Severus Snape is has to be white because there's scenes where he gets bullied later, and I'm like, are you saying black people can't be bullied? Like, I don't understand what
right,
you're talking about here. The guy is a great actor. He is different than Alan Rickman, and Alan Rickman is iconic in that role. I get that. But like that doesn't mean that he won't bring something new and interesting and exciting to the role, right? Like
right.
watch it. If you hate it, don't keep watching it, right? Like that's all you have to do.
Yeah,
It's I don't know. It just
and
drives
talk
me nuts.
talk about it in your circle. That doesn't mean you need to go blare your opinion all over the internet and harass people for it. And I think of was it the Obi-Wan show where the actress that played I can't think of the character's name off the top of my head, but she was the Inquisitor. And like people were literally harassing this woman
Yeah,
online. So much so that Ewan McGregor took to TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and posted a video telling people quit or you're not a real fan of the universe. And
right.
like it's just why do people feel the need to do that? Why do you
Yeah.
feel that that's okay?
Yeah,
If you don't enjoy something and it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. Not everything is going to resonate with you. That's why
exactly.
there's so many movies and TV shows and pieces of media out there. There's something for everyone. There's no reason to be miserable and make everyone else miserable because one thing doesn't hit for you.
There's a classic philosophy as, as an English teacher that I have been learning. It's a basic kind of foundational thing as a high school English teacher is like you need mirrors and windows, right? You need to read stories about people who you can identify with because their experience is so much like your own, and you need stories about people that you don't identify with at all because their experience is so different from your own. And if you
Hmm.
just stick to one or just stick to the other, you're not like getting that full kind of experience, that full scope of humanity, right? And what it is to be
Sure.
human and what we share and what separates us and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, I don't know, when you get into like fan community discussions of the things that they love, it's like they forget any of that. And it's just, but it's not what I want it to be. And therefore it's terrible. Right. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, we've gone on enough about this for long enough. Sorry.
We have.
I have
Uh,
strong feelings here.
I think we both do. I'm sure it'll come up again, but yeah, those are a couple of things that I've been watching. What about you, man?
Yeah, not as much as I thought. I also had a big gaming weekend, as I'll talk about here in a second. Not at a convention, just at my house and things. But I did make some time to go see Project Hail Mary, which I'm in. I think I'm in very much the minority that I found the book just okay.
Hmm.
And I found the movie enjoyable. It was fun. It wasn't like this is going to change my life or anything like that, or even oh man, I hope they remember this at the Oscars. But Ryan Gosling's a lot of fun, and
Per
the movie's a
use.
pretty entertaining time. Like I enjoyed it, right? I was pretty happy with it overall. My friend Dylan is convinced that I don't like the book more because I read it instead of listening to the audiobook version,
Mm,
which he says is like the best version. He liked the
interesting.
movie but thought the audiobook version was even better. So maybe that's it. I don't know. It was fun. It was a good time at the movies, and but not something I'm going to be necessarily remembering a month from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me ask, as someone who's never read the book,
Yeah.
should I read it before I watch the movie, or should I just go to the movie and maybe read the book down the road?
I would say, I will take my wife's philosophy on this. She is one who really prefers to watch the movie first, which I know
Hmm,
is uncommon. But,
very.
her philosophy is if I like it, then I can go to the book and there's more depth there. There's more going on there. And if I
Hmm,
don't like it, then I've only wasted 2 hours rather than,
hmm,
however long it takes to read a book. So I think that's not a bad
that's fair.
philosophy.
Amelia, such wisdom there.
She is a wise one. That is why I married her, for her wisdom and her stunning good looks.
There
So
you go.
yeah, so that's the main thing. We've been watching some other, TV and things where we're catching up on Shrinking on Apple TV. I can't remember if I talked about that last episode or not, but it's a really enjoyable show for sure. It's just like I don't know, it's very heartwarming. Have you watched that at all?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's really good. It's a group of psychiatrists, Jason Segel, Jessica Williams, and Harrison Ford,
Hmm,
and they're all they kind of it comes together around Jason Segel when the show opens. His is maybe not quite a year, but maybe it's a year since his wife has passed away. And so it's all about like mental health and dealing with grief and dealing with, the crap life throws at you and things like that. But
sure.
also it's about like found family and how people come together. And it's really funny at the same time. It's a great little show. It's on Apple TV. It's definitely always one that I am excited to when there's a new season. And we had not watched the most recent season and finally are getting around to catching up with it. So it's pretty good. Definitely
Nice.
worth a recommendation.
You been reading anything lately?
I have been, yeah. This is a weird one. I've been reading an Arkham horror novel.
That's
So
not surprising, but
is it? Okay. It's the first one I've ever read. There's a publisher called I think it's called Aconite or Arcanite. I think it's Aconite Books, and they publish novels connected to Arkham Horror, the Arkham Horror universe. And this one was sent to me along with Arkham Horror Chapter 2 of the Living Card Game, and I was like, yeah, this sounds fun. I need to read something kind of pulpy, get away from work a little bit and grading student papers and things like that. It's a pulp fiction novel, like literally. It's monsters and gangsters and cults and all kinds of things and
Arkham Horror.
characters from the Arkham games, and it's fun. It's not great literature, but it's a good time so far. It's by Kath Laria, who I
Hmm.
do not know. I've never read anything by her before, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's a good escape from termite warranties and the stresses of life. So
You got to have those breaks, man.
that's right. Yeah. What else has been going on with you? Have you been doing anything besides going to conventions and watching TV?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I'll talk about. I guess it was 2 weekends ago. Caitlin and I went to a coffee shop, Boba Place, and played some games for the afternoon, which is, I've mentioned before, it's kind of our favorite way to spend an afternoon or evening. Um, had some good boba tea and they've got some really good sandwiches. And we played 4 games, I think, which this doesn't happen often, but I put 4 games in the bag and we played all 4 of them while we were there. And so I
Wow.
felt I felt a like too high sense of accomplishment for a really silly thing, um but it was great. We had a good time. And I mentioned this not because of the games, but because of a cool interaction we had with some young guy that was at the coffee shop. He just kind of kept looking over at us, and finally, at one point, he just says, "What games are y'all playing?" And we just kind of mentioned what we were playing at the moment, and I think it was
Hold on.
Gatsby.
I was gonna say,
Or
Chris, what games were you all playing? Like, you gotta tell
uh,
us here.
I think Gatsby was what we were wrapping it up, starting to put it away when he asked us the question. Which, if you don't know, is a two-player game from Pandasaurus Games.
Yeah.
Really solid game. If you haven't played it, it's on BGA. Look me up, and I'll play a game with you very happily. But he just asked us what we were playing. He's like, I've never seen any board games that look like that. And like, so we are just telling him a little about the board gaming hobby and how there's tons of games and there's games for everybody and for every level of gamer. And no matter how deep or shallow you want to be. And he seemed super interested in it. And I kind of hated, like, at the moment, I was like, should we invite him to sit down and play one with us? But um, really all we kind of had were two-player games at the
Yeah.
moment, and so it wasn't really something that we could do. And we were starting to wrap it up to head back home anyway. But we did try to point him toward there's a game store in that town, and we tried to point him toward their Thursday night game night. Say, hey, just go check it out. It's free, even if you don't play anything. Some people just sit around and talk for 2 hours, and some people play really simple games. And there's literally nothing you can lose to try it out, and you'll
Yeah.
meet some people and potentially find a new hobby. But one of the things that struck me that he said in this conversation, and I can't remember verbatim, but it was something along the lines of, I just think it's so cool, and I love that idea of spending time connecting with people without a screen.
Mm.
And this guy's maybe 20, right?
Yeah.
Young college guy. And I just thought, I was really encouraged. This is going to sound very old man of me, but I was really encouraged that someone from a younger generation realizes that,
Yeah.
because so often you just see younger people. I mean, we're guilty of it too as millennials, but on screens 24/7 and not connecting and interacting with people as much. And so it's just really cool and encouraging to see him interested in that, excited that we were doing it, and excited about the possibility of it being a thing that he could do as well. And so it was just a really cool interaction and moment that we had. Um,
Yeah.
and so that was fun. And the other thing, and this is something that I posted about on my personal page last week, but I love being the house, the aunt and uncle that when our nephews come to town, they want to come over to our house and play board games
Yeah.
and have boba tea, and like they look forward to it. And there's been a couple times lately where it was a bummer that we were busy or they weren't here long enough or weren't here at the right time for us to be able to play games. And so we made it a point last Tuesday night to have them over. Caitlin made some boba tea, and we spent the evening playing some games. We taught, let's see, we played Scream the game, which is
Mm.
super stressful but really fun. I don't recommend playing it with children that don't understand urgency and speed in a game, though, uh, because you're not going to have a good time. You'll have fun. You're not going to do well at the game. Um,
Or
we
kids
also
that don't understand murder, because I mean, it's gotta be a key part of it, right?
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you seen Scream the game?
No, I don't know anything about
So,
it.
it's cooperative, and you're playing against the game, trying to you've got to get the right collection of cards to satisfy. You've got what's called a scene card in your hand, and then there's an item deck. And depending on player count, you have so many scene cards. You've got to have the right cards in your hand to satisfy your scene card, and you're all trying to get through the deck before somebody dies,
Gotcha.
which has been done a million times. What makes the game fun, especially if you're a Scream fan, is there's a phone app, and Ghostface calls you throughout the game. And I found out that you can put pictures of each of us in the app. So depending on who he's calling, your picture will show up, and he'll be like, "Hey, Chris," and just like, "You better have these items or you're dead." And it's just like it's fantastic. It's a little cheesy, but as a huge Scream fan, it's a game that's never going to leave my collection no matter how much we play it, just because when we do pull it out, there's just something about it that's so much fun.
So Scream
Um,
8 is gonna feature Stab the Game, where
yeah,
someone is playing it and actually gets stabbed by Ghostface for not
yeah,
having the items,
that'd
right?
be great. And there's a little ghost face miniature that comes painted. It's super awesome. Um, what else? We played Penguin Party and Wine Cellar, both from 25th Century Games, and then We ended the night playing a game that you gifted to me because you're a sweet, kind human being,
Say
and
it
that is
again.
and that is Infiltrators from Pandasaurus, which
Yeah.
is such a great game.
Yeah,
And
it's a good
we
one.
just had a blast. We went to bed that night, and I just told Kate, I was like, I love the fact that they want to come to our house because they know they're going to get to play games and have fun. And um, it's just, it's a heartwarming feeling because sometimes I feel like people that don't play games much, especially some of our family that may not be big gamers, they think we're weird and silly for how much we play and talk about and post about and are consumed by games and spend whole weekends at conventions. And it's just fun when you have people close to you that are like, hey, can I come over for a game night tonight? And you're like,
Yeah,
absolutely, let's go.
yeah,
So
definitely.
but yeah, so those are two really cool things that happened
That's
lately with
fantastic.
us. What about you? Have you had any cool stories, moments,
I don't know
adventures?
cool stories necessarily, but we did over spring break. We didn't have like a big trip planned or anything like that because my wife, there was a chance she was going to have to go chaperone a student trip, so we couldn't make any plans. And then she ended up having to go into work a little bit because she's an art teacher and
Mm,
had a big gallery to prepare for. But we did find one day where we got away and we went to a little town here in North Carolina called New Bern, and New Bern is where the royal governor's palace was before the Revolutionary War. And it's a cool little spot where you can. It's kind of almost like a mini Williamsburg, right? Like there's just one or two buildings, but you can go and people are in costume and they'll tell you about like what it was like to prepare a meal for the royal governor, and then you can go tour the house and see like all kinds of things. So it was a lot of fun. It was a good break from being at home. And as much as I do love being around the table, it's nice to get out of the house a little bit sometimes too,
yeah.
and go out and see some sights. So that was pretty fun and a good lead into our weekend that then we did have, where we didn't leave the house basically for like 3 days. Or at least I didn't. She did, but
Those are good too.
yeah, yeah, that's true. So this weekend, my best friends from college, we have been friends for almost 30 years at this point, and still all converse regularly, get together whenever we can, and try to. Our goal is once or twice a year to have like a big get together. We're all in North Carolina, so you'd think we could do that pretty easily, but schedules being what they are, they all have kids.
Mm,
My time is limited because I'm a teacher, so it's like, hey, if it's not the summer or spring break, it's harder to find that time.
sure.
It's harder to connect than we thought than we want it to be, but we were able to connect, and they all came out, Dylan, Sean, and John, and they all came out for basically 3 days of gaming. And I have over the years worked them all down into being gamers, and they are all pretty intense gamers now. It's pretty
Kudos. Well done.
exciting. Yeah, it's very fun. It did take a lot of like every time I went to see them, hey, I'm going to bring a game, or you want to try something with me, and things like that. So it was pretty good. We played probably 13 or 14 different games, and I'm not going to necessarily talk about all of them, but I did want to just maybe hit a couple of highlights from the weekend for me. The biggest one was definitely the King's Dilemma. I had bought it a long time ago and had intentions. I was like, I want to play it with these guys for sure. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And we played 7 games of it over the course of the weekend,
That's a
which
lot.
was it was a lot. Yeah, each game is probably 45 minutes to an hour or so, and it was fantastic. It was everything I hoped it would be, right? In terms of just like a fun time sitting around, talking, giving each other a hard time, a little bit of role play. If you're not familiar with the game, basically it's the King's Council on Game of Thrones, the game, right? You're all kind of representing a house from this country, and you are not. None of you are the king, but you are advisors to the king. And so the way the game works is there's a stack of dilemma cards, and a dilemma card gets flipped, and it says, "Here's the scenario. You can vote I, and here are the generally, vaguely, here are the consequences." All kind of measured in little symbols and things, and or you can vote nay, and here are the consequences. And then you talk and you try and convince each other to vote the way you want to vote, if you know that, like, hey, this feels like it's going to maybe align with my house's goals and things, because each character or each player has a character shield, basically a little shield that they put in front of them, and on the back of that is a story of the house as well as some like private goals that they're trying to accomplish and things like that. As the game goes on, it's a legacy game, so you add stickers to the board, and conditions change, and new things get added, and you've got these 6 different storylines that you're trying to reach the end of, and basically once you reach the end of all 6 of them, the game is over, and then you find out at that point who wins and how the end game is scored, which I think is really cool. We are tracking things along the way on our board, but we don't actually know how much each of those things is going to be worth. And we're signing cards that we're leaving in stacks, but I don't know exactly how signing those cards is going to impact the end score and things. And so it's a really neat experience that is really just a fun excuse to sit around and chat with friends and talk with friends and have a good time. It's not, I don't think it's perfect. My buddy Dylan also likes it, but he's, I think, they liked it the least out of all of us. And his frustration, which I totally understand, is that sometimes you have, in addition to your house goals, each game you get a private goal that you're trying to accomplish. It's a series of cards, and they're the same 6 cards every game, and so you know everybody chooses one each game, and sometimes those feel like they can not align with what your house goals are. And so it's like, "Ah, what do I actually want to do here? Do I go for the short term goal for this game, or am I trying to get these long term consequences?" Or like, sometimes the story consequence that comes up is, you're like, well, what I want to vote for here, what sounds like the most interesting story for the kingdom to continue, is not something that I think my house would actually vote for. So do I vote what I think would be more interesting, or do I vote like what I think that role play element house would do? And so I think he's got a point. I do think there are some a little bit of wonkiness there, and I'm just kind of rolling with it though, and being like, I'm trying to have fun in the moment. Try and be the little weaselly little finger from Game of Thrones. It's like, well, if we do this, then this person's going to have a big advantage, and they all know it, and they all call me out when I do it, but it's still fun anyway. So
Now,
that's been a ton of fun.
yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the game. How many is there a set number of scenarios
So
or
what we've read is there's probably about 15 scenarios.
okay.
I think that could I don't know if that will change, but certainly the length of the scenarios can change. The games can end in 2 ways. Either the king dies, and he'll
Mm,
die once you go through enough scenarios. You're kind of keeping them along the side of the board, and there's a section when you start putting cards here. If a skull is on the card, the king dies. Or the king can abdicate by there's a little tracker that's moving up and down, and if it gets to one extreme end of the track, then he'll abdicate. So we did have a game that lasted like 4 cards, and the king abdicated immediately, right? And we've had games that lasted much longer. So yeah, it's a little bit variable, but what I've heard is about 15 scenarios. And
gotcha.
I think um, this game kind of was big during the pandemic, and so I think
Mhm.
there are some systems online for continuing to play virtually,
Hmm,
which I'm gonna explore, so that we don't have to wait, a year when we're back together to kind of
sure.
continue the story. So
And are you the same character throughout the whole
you're the same
campaign?
house, but
The
it's
same
like each
house.
game,
Okay,
it's a new kind of generation is the way to think about it,
I
right? You
gotcha.
you don't really have to name yourself. You do, whoever wins the game gets to name the king for the next game, but otherwise you're just like, oh, I'm the next generation of house, whatever it is, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Sounds interesting. It sounds like it's just, I mean, you mentioned there may be some wonkiness and some issues, but it sounds like the whole point is just to have fun
yeah,
and negotiate and
exactly.
quasi role play without it being a role playing game.
Exactly. It's an experience game more than a, like, I'm really getting caught up in, what is
Right.
my optimal move in this moment and things. So, which, I get not everybody wants to go for that, but I'm having a blast with it.
That's good.
So, yeah. That's probably my favorite that we played, but we played a bunch of others that were really good, and I'll just give some short shouts here so we can, maybe talk about some other games in a little bit more depth, but or in some other topics in a little bit more depth. Um, let's see. I'm looking at my list here. The ones I want to highlight really quickly are quickly a short one called, I think it's called Dropolter is how you pronounce it. Dropolter. It's DRO space POLTER, and it is a silly little game that my friend Sean brought. Have you played this before, Chris? Do you know
No,
what it
I
is?
haven't.
It's an Oink game.
We love Oink games, is what I
Yeah,
was going to say. We have several of them. Some of them lately have been kind of hit or miss. I've heard. I know in the beginning, pretty much all of them they were putting out were bangers.
yeah.
But some of them lately have been kind of hit or miss. But I've seen this one and I've been really interested in it. So
Let me tell you, if you play it at about 1 in the morning, it is a blast. So, there's a little ghost, uh, figure in the middle of the table, and then everybody has 5 items in their hand, and, each round you flip over a card, and then you can open up your hand, and you try and drop just the items that are shown on the card. You can't, like, use your other hand, so it's just one hand trying to manipulate them. And if you win the card, then you get a bell, a little tiny bell, and you have to keep that in your hand also. So in future rounds, you're like starting to fill up with bells and these different little items. And if you
interesting.
if you drop a bell, you've lost that bell. You don't get to keep it anymore. And the point is to win 5 bells, and then you win the game. So
Hmm.
it's very silly. It's very fast. It is a dexterity game that is gonna be over in 10 minutes basically,
Yeah,
but it was a good time. We
that's
had fun
fun.
with that one.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of Oink games, I've seen some posts recently. Have you ever seen a picture of their stores in
Mm-mm.
Japan?
I have not.
Holy cow, they look so cool. They've just got like a curved wall of just a wall of their game boxes. And they're not very big, but just like the color coordination and the size and light, it just looks super cool. And I would love to go visit it one day.
That does sound fun. I can imagine with the style that they have that it's gonna be a cool looking store for sure. That's
Yeah, but
awesome.
if you look them up on Facebook or Instagram, they've posted a couple pictures of some recently. So
That's
that's
great.
really cool.
A few others. I'm just going to list a few, and then I'll talk about maybe one more in a little bit more depth.
Okay.
We played Wispwood, which I love from CGE. I really enjoy that game. It's a nice little tile building game that has variable scoring conditions, really cute art, and definitely one that I've enjoyed every time we've gotten it out. And it's now on BGA, and I'm
Ooh.
just invited some friends to play that. My same friends who I played with at
Mhm.
at
I was
at
gonna
my
say you
house.
didn't invite me, so
Well, that's next. We'll
okay,
get
okay, okay.
we've gotta finish what's the game we're in the middle of that's been taking forever?
Tacta.
Tacta, yeah, once we
Yeah.
finish
There's
Tacta.
there's 5 of us playing, and I think there's a couple people that just take 1 move a day,
Yeah.
so which is fine, whatever.
Yeah,
That's an easy one to not I don't like doing that on big games because I forget where I'm at.
right.
But that's an easy one to just be like, "Oh, I just need to play this card and score some points."
Pawnscape from Tomas Holek or Holek. We're not sure. I'm not sure how you pronounce the name, but, that's one I've played a few times now that I'm really enjoying. Freya's Swamp,
Mm,
Tend and Graft. We played both the big roll and write game and the little drafting card game, and I like both of them. I think they've got some interesting things. Maybe we can talk about Tend later
yeah, that'd be
on a
great.
different episode because I know we both have played
Yeah.
that a little bit. We played a bunch of co-op games, Bomb Busters, Take
Ooh,
Time, and I think one of my favorite. I don't know. I enjoyed all three of those quite a bit, but Here Lies is the most recent one that I think has come out. So I'll just talk about that one a
I haven't
bit.
heard of that one yet, so
Oh, it's
I'm
great. It's
interested to hear.
yeah, it's from DVC Games, and
Oh, yeah,
they've been
okay.
doing cool little stuff lately, right? So it's a cooperative kind of mystery game, basically. So one person is the lead investigator, and they have a little booklet, and on the booklet there's a story that they'll read to everybody, and then there is a story that they keep private. And in that private story, there are different categories and words that are underlined, right? And so it's the solution to the mystery, right? So maybe it'll be like this character drowned because he was changing a light bulb and slipped and fell into the bathtub, right? And
Okay.
so you may have things like drowned is underlined and light bulb is underlined and bathtub is underlined, which means you can't say those things or give those hints at any point. And then all the other characters are have an investigator. Sorry, all the other players have an investigator character, and the investigators come with a bunch of little cards. And the cards are all ways to try and get information from the lead investigator. So it may say like, give me the last three letters of one of the underlined words. And so you look at the list and you're like, okay, which of these would be most helpful to give them? Because it's cooperative, right? The lead investigator does want them to get to the solution here. Or it may say like, draw a picture of, you know, what impressions were left on the body. And so you can draw a little picture and try and convey like there's a head wound and there's a cut from shattered glass, or something like that to try and convey something. Or it may say, I'm trying to remember some of the other cards that we had. It may say something like, um, here's a list of words, right? Circle two of them that are most helpful for understanding what happened here. And it will say, like, throwing and catching and jumping and flipping, and none of them exactly correspond, but you try and circle them. And then they talk after they do each clue. Each clue costs a certain number of time tokens, and then the investigators talk and try and figure out like what's going on. And as the lead investigator, you're hearing this, right? So you're knowing, are they going down the right path or the wrong path? And so you might be like, okay, in the future round, I need to help them get back to, they're missing completely the drowning piece, right? They know that there was injuries, but they're missing the drowning element. And uh, so you just kind of go along like that. And then after each round, you give them, they know what the categories are that they're trying to solve, and you give them either a green check. You at some point said this category, said something correct or close enough to correct, or a yellow bar is like you're on the right path, kind of, but you got some work to do, or a red X is like you're nowhere near it. And so over 3 rounds, they get to discuss, and then finally they give their final explanation of what happened. And I just found this really a lot of fun to play. I'm not like a big social deduction person, but I do like
Sure.
deduction games somewhat.
Hmm.
And the cooperative elements of this I thought were really entertaining and fun. I was the lead investigator, and it's always easier, I think, a little bit to be the lead investigator in those circumstances because
Yeah.
you have information, right? But I would love to play it as the investigator for the next time we play it, because I think it's interesting to try and see like how do our minds work, and with these like random little bits and pieces, how do we get to something that is the right story, right? And so
Hmm.
it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that one quite a bit.
Now, I'm curious because we played at Gen Con, you got another DVC game, Signal.
Hmm.
Obviously, this sounds like it's a little more leaning, I don't want to say party game, but maybe a little bit more toward a social deduction than Signal is.
Yeah.
How would you compare those two?
Um, want to play Here Lies more, and I thought after we played Signal, I was like, okay, I get it. It's cute. I think this is neat, and I'm not
Gotcha.
sure necessarily this is one that I want to play again and again. Whereas I'm like, ooh, how many cases are there for Here Lies? Like there is, yes, there's more of an interactive kind of group element, but there's also, they do share that kind of process of trying to figure out what is being communicated to us here and what are the conclusions we can draw from that, right?
Gotcha.
uh, Signal is a little bit more abstract. It's about like physical positioning and physical shapes, whereas Here Lies is about like what's the story that's happening here.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I love story, and I'm an English teacher, so the
Gotcha.
stories are fun and interesting. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Well, if you ever want to pass on Signal, let me know. I'll, we can talk about that later.
Deal. Uh, Yeah, I think those are most of the games I want to talk about. I want to talk more about Arkham Horror Chapter 2 because I have a lot of thoughts about that, but maybe we can save that for another episode as well, and
Okay.
I can instead tell you more than you want to know about another game on the chopping block today, and that is Perch. Chris, remind us what the chopping block is all about.
So the chopping block is where we go in depth and dive into a deep game review, all the ins and outs, what we liked, what we didn't like. And we want to start every review segment with our disclosure policy. While Oak and Onion does accept review copies of games, that doesn't change our review approach. Previews, sponsorships, or other relationships will be clearly identified, as will how we receive every game we review, whether we were sent a copy from the publisher or we purchased it ourselves. We do aim for honesty and integrity in our reviews and hope that you can trust us to tell you what we really think. Now, let's see what's on the chopping block today.
All right, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Perch from Inside Up Games, designer Douglas Hetrick and artist Ari Oliver. This is a 2 to 5 player game that is going to play in about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and I think that time is pretty accurate. A lot of game boxes are a little bit generous in their time estimates, but I think with Teach, our game of Perch that we played was right around an hour. So in Perch, you are playing as flocks of birds vying for control of various trees and bushes and statues and bird baths and fountains. And it is at heart an area control game played over 5 rounds. In every round, it's got an interesting mechanism where every player is going to have their collection of birds and they'll put 2 birds in a bag. And then 2 birds of their own that they place in front of him. In turn order, everybody's going to draw 2 birds from the bag, which means you're going to have a collection of your own birds, at least 2 every round, but also you'll have other people's birds, and you get to place other people's forces at different locations, which I think is really smart, as I'll talk about a little bit later. So once you've drawn your birds from the bag one at a time, you're going to place those birds on different location tiles. Sometimes you might place them in a bird's nest. That adds a bonus bird. Sometimes you'll place them just on the ground for a benefit that will come later for you, but the goal is to try and control the different tiles. Tiles score in different ways. Sometimes if you've got the most birds, you get the most points. Sometimes being second is actually going to give you the most points. And ties cancel each other out. So in other words, if we're playing a 4 player game and all 4 of us have birds on the tile, let's say, Chris, that you and I each have 4 birds and Amelia has 3 and Caitlin has 2, then nobody will score first or second because we tied. Amelia will get third place, and Caitlin won't get anything because she's still fourth place, even though first and second didn't score. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's a really interesting way for that tie to matter, and it makes a big difference the fact that you get to place other people's birds, because
Mhm.
that means I know, hey, I'm not actually going to win this tile, but I can be the only one who scores points if I take Chris's bird and place it on that tile, because now he's going to tie for first place and cancel out. And so it's a really interesting mechanism there. There are options to gain animals or a scarecrow, and those have special powers. So if you control the tile that those animals come from, then the next round you'll have a special power to use. And the special powers aren't crazy. It could be something like move an animal across 2 tiles and add 1 bird from the supply to the tile you end on, right? Or it could be like remove a bird from each tile you cross over. And so they have little powers that can manipulate the board, but you can only use them once per round. In rounds 4 and 5, there are 2 new tokens that are introduced. In round 4, we've got birdhouses. You put that on top of a stack of birds, and nobody else can add to that stack anymore. So you could cap off your own group so that nobody can manipulate it, or you could cap off someone else's so that you can then jump ahead of them in the lead. There's also zap tokens, which will remove a bird and send them to the fountain. And the fountain is sort of an area scoring place at the end of the game. Depending on what level of the fountain you're on, the birds are worth different points. Finally, there are goal cards as well. The game recommends you don't use those for the first play, but we did, and they're easy. Nobody is going to get too stressed out about them. I would say just include them. They're all kind of full of puns and things as well, so it was a lot of fun. Chris, how do you feel about area control games? Do you like them? Do you dislike them?
It's hit or miss, honestly, for us. It really depends on what all else is in the game
Yeah,
and what else it has going on, and especially if it's got any like fighting involved. Usually like area majority tends to hit more than like a fighty area control game. Um, but it, I'm always willing to try them.
yeah,
It's not my favorite mechanic, but there are some games that I've really enjoyed that have area control, and there's some games I've played and I'm like, this isn't for me. So it really
yeah.
just depends on what else is around it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how you would react to this one because there definitely is fightiness, right? Like again, you're placing other people's birds, and so you can really kind of mess up a strategy they were building the whole time, or you can really help them because you're trying to mess up someone else, right? And so I think that's a really interesting choice that I've not seen before.
Yeah, that's honestly why we haven't tried it yet.
Yeah,
because we had some friends at TokenCon last year play it, and what they'd said about it, I was like, I don't know that that's for us.
yeah,
But I was, as you were describing it, I was looking at the pictures so I could like visualize what you're talking about and how it looks on the table, and just seeing how the birds stack and then the bird houses on top of them. It makes me
yeah.
want to play it because it looks really cool.
Yeah, I haven't gotten
So
to the, what worked here yet, but the art and table presence definitely is fantastic, right?
sure,
It is a really adorable game to play, and, I think that that's really one of the things it has going for us. If this was, warriors that you're putting on the map or something, I don't think it would have the
right,
same appeal. But
yeah,
stacking those little birds, they if you haven't seen pictures of them before, for the listeners, they have a little knob on the top and a little opening on the bottom, and so you literally stack them up and you make a little tower of birds. And they can get quite tall.
sure,
7, 8 birds can end up on a tower, and so it's really adorable to kind of look at on the table and things.
that's good. Well, I
Yeah.
got ahead of you.
No, that's all right.
Sorry,
Not a
but let's
problem.
let's back up. So, what didn't work for you in the game?
Yeah, there are a few things that I think I would probably say didn't quite work for me as well as I hoped they would. The to first thing is I wish there were more tiles in the game, just for more variety. I
Mhm,
probably would not play this game with just like 2 to 3 people, even though it says it's a 2 to 5 player game. Most area control games, unless there's really care taken to a 2 player or 3 player game, are going to work
sure,
better with a larger player count. And this one, the main difference is that you play with fewer tiles. But if you're playing this with 4 or 5 players, then I think you're going to see all those tiles pretty quickly. Now, how they're laid out on the board might change, and the different combination might change a little bit. But I didn't feel like there was enough variety to be like, oh, I'm still going to be discovering things here 10 games later
sure.
about like how these different tiles might work together. So that,
So,
yeah,
in a 4 or 5 player game, are you using all the tiles?
you're not using all
Okay,
the tiles. There's still a variety that are left in the box, and so it'll be several plays before you do see everything. But there's
gotcha.
not so many that I feel like it's going to be an infinite discovery, right?
Right.
And the tiles are small enough. I'm glad they're cardboard, but like if they were cards, I feel like they could have added a whole bunch more in.
Mhm.
So that might be a challenge. Will it feel like okay? We've seen all the game has to offer after 4 or 5 plays. I'm not sure yet if that's going to be the case. Um, I mentioned this already. I don't think I would play this with less than 4. I would like to play it with 5 to see if that is too combative, but 4 felt like a really good sweet spot for
Mhm.
you've got still a lot of control over yourself, right? Because you do get your 2 birds to place every round, and sometimes when you're drawing from the bag, you'll get you know a third bird of yours or even a fourth bird of yours, and so you feel like you have a lot of control in that case. But I think 2 or 3 player, it's not going to have the same sort of impact at all. So I don't think I would play it at that player count. Another thing I didn't really like at all is there's an insert that's super obnoxious. I know this is dumb, but like it was
It's
just a
practical.
it's practical. It was a weird choice. The insert is divided into like 4 different areas, and one of those areas is beautiful. It's this little round bird container that you pull out and you put it on the table. That is lovely. It's very effective. It's sturdy. It's nice. All that kind of stuff. Then there's 2 areas of the insert that are for stacking cards and things like that. Yes, that's it.
I'm gonna
And
put
then
that on there so people can see if you're watching the video.
yeah,
I'm
and
showing you a picture from my phone.
then there's that last area that's just like and then you put all the other stuff in there. And it's just like a mess. It looks like in that picture they've got
Yeah.
something placed over it, but there's like these little acrylic pieces for the animals, there are the bird houses, there are the stands. There's all kinds of things in there that it's like why do these not have a place? Why are these just all tossed in the bottom here? So it
They've got
just
the
seemed like
draw bag laying over it is what they
yeah.
had.
Yeah, it just seemed like a weird choice, right?
Yeah.
Like, a
Well,
couple more formed pieces of plastic there for it would have been just fine, but instead they make it one big well.
and it looks like, and Caitlin gives me a hard time because I say this a lot about games that come with an insert like this, is it's a ton of wasted box space,
Yeah,
right? You mentioned you want more tiles. Well, ditch the insert, you can fit twice as many tiles,
yeah,
right? There's good to an insert if it speeds up the setup or tear down process of a game. if there's trays that you can just put on the table, which the birds,
The
that's
bird tray
nice.
is great, keep that.
But that drives me crazy in games where they tried halfway to present an insert that really doesn't function, and that can drive me crazy. So I you said that it's kind of a silly gripe. I don't think it's silly. I think it's practical, and you're speaking my language, which is why I have a box of folded space inserts that got delivered this week that I'm ready to put together this weekend for a few games. So,
Very nice. Um, The other thing I think didn't work super well, but I don't know if I would even say it didn't work. It's just a thing you need to be aware of going in is that the random bag draw means that sometimes you will have good draws that you're like, oh, this is just what I need for this round in order to, as I said, control my own fate. Or, oh, good, I've got, Marco's pieces here and he's in the lead and I really want to be able to have some control over where he's actually
mhm,
getting to place things. Or it can create disadvantages where you're like, well, I don't really know what to do with these birds that I have. These aren't birds for any of the tiles I'm fighting for, right? These are competitors who are fighting elsewhere, and so I'm not really sure where to put these exactly. And so that's just a thing to be aware of, I think.
yeah, I can see that being good or bad though. Like it's one of those things that you even mentioned you're not sure that it's a negative, but it just creates weird moments. But that's the problem with a game with that kind of mechanism is it's going to put you in a weird moment from time to time, and there's not really any way around it because it's you're just drawn out of the bag, and what you get's what you get.
Yeah, and I don't even think I would say it's a problem. I think it's just a thing that you need to be aware of because if that's really going to bother you, then the game might bother you, right? And so
Right.
you need to know that going in that like sometimes you'll feel like you don't have as much control of you want as you want and sometimes you'll feel like you have great control. And I'll talk about that one way you can have control in just a second here. But I wanted to end the sort of what didn't work segment with a review that I found on BGG. This is from Grimsalt on BGG, who rated it a 3.
Oof.
He said, a Schadenfreude sandbox that's deeper than what it looks, with only a partial degree of agency, objectives at cross purposes, repetitive turns, AP liability, moderate fiddliness, thematic disconnect, and animal cruelty. Death by taser. And it took me a long
What?
time to understand
What is he
what
talking
he was
about?
talking about. And it's the zap tokens at the end, which are
Oh
literally just a little piece of cardboard with a lightning bolt on it. But that is apparently animal cruelty. I don't
my
know. Those
god.
were not my concerns necessarily. But I don't know that he's totally wrong about some of that. The game starts really fast with really fast turns, but towards the end, it can take a little while to figure out, okay, where is the best place to put this, right? So I don't know that I would say it's AP prone. Like I said, we played in under an hour still at 4 players, but
Wow.
like you do have to be aware that it's going to get tougher to make some of those choices as you go in.
But that's not uncommon for games as you get toward the end for it to
Right.
slow down a little bit because you're trying to maximize and scores and make sure you're setting yourself up and not setting. I mean, that's part of strategy games. Is
Exactly.
in the beginning it doesn't quite matter as much sometimes, and you get to the end and you're like, okay, I've got to maximize this. So
Right.
I mean, it's just
The
part of it.
nature of games. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What worked for me though? Let's talk about some positives. I felt like the going last advantage worked really well, and what I mean by that is the player who's in last place gets to go last. And in a lot of games, right, if you're in last place, you get to go first. But here, going last is great because you then get to see where are other people placing and where can you place to be most effective. And so, if someone has spent their last bird to like just edge the lead on one tile, you can be like, actually, you guys are going to tie now, and I'm not even on that tile, but neither of you are going to score for it either. And
Mm,
so, like, there's ways to really think about that as a positive, and I think my group when we played this, we all found that positive to be at the end and to be like, okay, I've got some real control over how this round is going to play out now. And so it meant that there wasn't really a runaway leader issue because it kind of allowed for some balance in ways that I think were really good and certainly would not have worked if you just stayed in a traditional turn order every time or
mm.
if you went first as the last player. So I liked that. I thought it was a good choice.
And that's backwards because normally, especially in a final round of a game, you want first dibs on everything.
Yep,
So it sounds interesting and like it kind of twists that on its head a little bit.
exactly. As I mentioned earlier, this game is really cute on the table. The art by Ari Oliver really kind of makes the game. It's kind of a cartoony style, right?
Mhm,
It's not that tells you that the game is not taking itself overly seriously, and that cuteness kind of plays through in the game itself. So yes, you're screwing each other over a little bit here for for positioning and stuff, but it never feels like overly aggressive because the art and the little birds that you're stacking, it's all still adorable, and so
mhm.
you can feel good natured about it all, even when you're on the receiving end of one of those like moves that you're like, ah, I can't believe you did that to me.
Yeah. Now, you asked if we liked area control games, and what you just said makes me think of a game called Brew from Pandasaurus. Have you ever
Yeah.
played Brew?
I have played Brew, yeah.
Because we actually really, and Caitlin likes that game more than I do, which is surprising. So that makes me think that maybe we'll like this one a little bit more, because that game is brutal,
Yeah.
but it's wrapped in such a cute package that you would never expect it. So
Yes,
it sounds kind of like a similar idea there.
exactly. I also really like the choices. I mentioned this earlier, right? The choices are simple at first because you're like, I think I'm going to try for this tile, and I kind of want to have that power. And then later on, it gets really intense, both with your own birds and by placing other people's birds. And as I said, I know that for some people that's going to be the negative, right? Is that they do feel like I just want to be able to control where I put my birds every time. But I think that's the magic in this game is that you get to play other people's pieces. You get that with that tie cancellation rule, those two pieces together, I think just made for a really fun combination that is not one I have seen before, right? Where it's not just about, as I said, I'm going to strengthen my army and build up the big army over here, and no one will be able to take this over. It's like I'm watching where those birds are landing, and now I know they want this one more bird to go over there, and maybe they're trying to convince me that, hey, they won't take this tile over here. Not that it's a game with a lot of negotiation, right? It's just the nature of table talk is like, hey,
Mhm.
put that bird over here, and I promise I've got one of yours. I'm not gonna mess you up over here, right? And you're like, no, it better serves me to put it over here, right, where it gets you 0 points and
Right.
that kind of thing. It was so fun. I thought I really liked this game. I more than I expected I would. Like I liked the look of the game before, and I had seen some of the mixed reviews on, is this too like fighty or attacky? But I just found it a really enjoyable game to play. And because it plays area control in an hour, I think it's likely to get back to the table again.
Yeah.
So this is a positive review to end the kind of positive section from Kelly Noon on BGG. And I didn't write down the score that Kelly Noon gave it. I think it was a 9 or a 10. I'm a sucker for a game that's a 10-minute teach, or 10 minutes or less to teach, but actually requires some thought for each turn and plays in under an hour. Is it mean? Sorta, but part of the fun is a quick pivot to your strategy and anticipating your opponent's next move. And I think that's exactly right. Like, if you get hung up on, oh, this game has ways that you can mess up other people, and that's the only thing you see in this, then yeah, it's probably not a game for you. But if you see that as an opportunity to be like, well, they're messing me up, but I also have the chance to think about how I can mess up their plans. And in that messing each other up, how can I still come out on top? Then I think that's where it really works for me.
Yeah. So was this a purchase or is this a review copy?
Thank you for reminding me. This was a review copy. So this
Okay.
was sent to me as Inside Up was starting to work on their expansion Kickstarter. So they had a Kickstarter for the expansion to Perch. And so they sent the base game to me to review. This was not like a deluxe version of the game or anything like that, but it was a review copy that was sent to me. And actually, that's a good lead in to, I think, my final thoughts for it.
Okay.
So ultimately, is this a prize play or pass for me? This is a play for me. I really enjoyed it, and I decided to back the expansion with my own money, right? Not as like wait for
Gotcha.
them to send it to me, but to decide myself, yeah, I'm gonna spend some money on this as well. I think it's quick. I think it's an accessible area control game that's friendly enough in terms of rules to be appealing, but also strategic enough for seasoned gamers, right? Like I wouldn't feel weird pulling this out with someone who's new to games. I wouldn't be feel weird pulling it out with you and Caitlin, right? I think everyone
Sure.
could maybe find something of value in it. I don't know that it's earned a permanent spot in my collection. And I know that there are more robust and like deeper area control games out there. But for a fast teach and an hour to play, I'm really excited to explore it more. So it's a play.
Gotcha. Now I'm curious. I had a question to piggyback off of. Was it a purchase or review copy? Was this one that was on your radar already? Would
Yeah.
you have potentially tried and purchased this had you not gotten a review copy?
I think I might have. I mean, it was definitely on my radar. I saw it originally at PAX in 2024, and I think those they did not have copies for sale at that point.
Okay.
It was still either at the Kickstarter phase, or they had copies to show, but not actually for sale yet. But I
Right.
probably would have bought it back then if they had had copies
Okay.
available.
I think for me, like when you think about and talk about a game like that, well, it was a review copy. I'm always curious from people like, would you have spent your own money on it if
Yeah,
you weren't given a copy to review?
yeah, I think that's a fair question for sure.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I had kind of decided not to play the game, but per usual, when you talk about a game, now it makes me want to try it. So
It's just
kudos, you succeeded.
it's just the dulcet sounds of my voice that are convincing you to play. That's all.
And honestly, it's Grim Salt's review that did it for me. I feel like if somebody has to get that serious and use I can't think of the word I want, but like over the top dramatic wording in a review, it's like, well, I have to try the game now.
A game that creates a response in someone, like, that's
Absolutely.
it's doing something there, right? Like,
Yeah.
he saw something in it that I didn't, but that doesn't mean that that it didn't invoke some sort of response as well.
Yeah.
And on that note, Chris, I'm gonna try and invoke a response in you here,
Oh
I think.
no. Ooh.
Should we move on to our game for the episode?
If we have to.
We do indeed. All right. This is what I'm calling Two Truths and a Lie 2026 game releases. So here's how this works, Chris. I haven't told you at all how I
I know
set this up.
nothing.
Yes. So I have gone on to BGG and I have done a search for games that are listed as 2026 releases. Now, we both know how games work on BGG. That might mean they have a Kickstarter in 2026, or it might mean
Yeah.
that they're actually coming out in 2026, or it might mean they don't come out ever. But I have found several different games here that I have categorized in different categories. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the category, and I'm going to read you three game titles and descriptions, and you're going to have to tell which one I made up and which
Okay.
two are real. All right. So
Okay.
these are just taken from BGG. Now, uh, full confession here. This is our first use of AI on this show. So what happened was
Oh no.
I copied the selections in. So these are the BGG descriptions, right? Then I wrote up a description, and then I asked Gemini, "Hey, help me make my description sound more like the other two descriptions." Okay, so
Okay.
it gave me some wordsmithing, and then sometimes I still changed it because as you might know, AI is dumb, so it doesn't
Facts.
always know what it's doing. All right, round one category is sports. Okay,
Okay.
sports. Game one. And you may want to, again, write down the games, but not the descriptions because the descriptions are long.
Okay.
Do you have a pen?
Let me get my notes app open real quick,
Okay.
and I'll
Just so
just use
you
that.
can remember the
Yeah.
titles. All right. Game one, Furry and Furious. 2 to 4 player combat game inspired by the world famous outdoor classic Catch the Flag. Select from a variety of animal clans to play and master their unique abilities. Use your action dice to put your opponents in trouble with clever moves or invest them in mighty power up cards. Push your luck, manipulate dice, and consider making sacrifices to achieve the ultimate goal. Catch the enemy's base or become the last clan standing. That's Furry and Furious.
Okay.
All right, game two, Spikers, a high tension tactical volleyball duel for 2 players. In this game, players step into the shoes of coaches managing a 6 player squad where every inch of the court and every point of stamina counts. The game features a unique inertia and speed system. As the rally intensifies, the speed of the ball dictates how many actions players can take, forcing tough decisions between positioning, resting, or committing to a powerful strike. With a dice pool mechanic that includes exploding criticals, coaches must balance raw power with control. Pushing too hard might lead to uncontrolled force, handling a point to the opponent. Spikers brings the authentic, fast paced strategy of professional volleyball to the tabletop.
It's wild.
All right, game three, Dairy Dash. A high speed, press your luck race inspired by the beloved Cooper's Hill cheese rolling competition. In this game, players hurtle down a treacherous hillside in a chaotic scramble to catch a bouncing wheel of cheese. Manage your momentum with player cards that dictate speed and direction while navigating a cheese deck filled with ditches, rocks, and rival racers. Gravity and inertia are your constant enemies. Push too hard, you'll find yourself tumbling head over heels. Each turn, you must decide whether to draw more cards to gain ground or stop before revealing a third trip card. Run, dive, and stumble your way to victory in this tabletop tribute to extreme downhill racing.
Hmm.
So these are your 3 games: Furry and Furious, Spikers, or Dairy Dash.
And I'm picking the lie.
You're picking the lie.
Correct. Okay. Hmm. I'm gonna go with Spikers.
Spikers is, in fact, a real game.
Oh man.
Dairy Dash was the lie on this one.
Hmm.
But I think it sounds like a fun game. I was
I was
pretty
gonna say the
happy.
problem with them is they all sound so outlandish that I'm sure somebody would come up with it.
You might find that as a theme of this game, is all of these sound
And I'm gonna
ridiculous.
do terrible.
You're just too sweet and believing. You
Yeah,
can't believe
how
that I
dare
would
you lie
lie
to
to you.
me? I've trusted you.
All right, round 2, insects. Game 1, Insectopia. In this tactical tile placement game, you're the architect of an underground kingdom. Each turn, you'll strategically place hex tiles featuring diverse landscapes designed to attract specific insect species while repelling others. Success depends on mastering a delicate ecological balance. Some bugs crave isolation, others thrive in a massive swarm, and some only contribute to your score when specific patterns are achieved across your garden. Every placement is a calculation in your attempt to create the most harmonious and high scoring bug utopia the world has ever seen.
Hmm.
Game number 2, Cool Bugs Under Rocks. Play bugs into your garden. Play bugs into your garden that flip, move, or discard your other cards, or play rocks and leaves to protect them. Every card has a different bug or protection on the front and back. Draw a card, choose a side, and put it in your 4x4 grid. Do the card's action, often flipping other cards, but not re-triggering those ones. Each bug has a different scoring condition. Most points after someone fills their garden wins. Game 3, Bug Fight. A 2-player lane battler and deck builder. The lightweight 80 card deck is packed with cute bugs, tons of strategy, and plays in 30 to 45 minutes. Each player starts with a base deck of bugs, area cards are placed in lanes, and a recruit shop is set up with unique bugs. Each round, players place cards from their hands face down in each lane. Flip the cards and resolve their effects. When a player gets enough bugs on an area, they capture it. Recruit bugs from shop and win areas until the flag area is captured. Count up your victory points. The player with the most wins. So we've got Insectopia, Cool Bugs Under Rocks, and Bug Fight.
I think Cool Bugs Under Rocks is such a dumb name that it has to be real because you're more creative than that. I'm gonna go with Bug Fight.
Bug Fight is real.
Oh, dang it.
Insectopia is the one that I made
Mm.
up.
There's been so many lane battlers come out lately that I was just like, no, too many of them.
Not
And I
to
was wrong.
not to mock the people who make BGG entries here at all, because I would never do such a thing. But
Never.
sometimes you realize who has professional writers for them, working for them, and who doesn't. My favorite line out of this description was, do the card's action, often flipping other cards, but not re-triggering those ones. Those
Hey.
ones.
All right, so who is publishing Cool Bugs Under Rocks?
Oh, you're asking information I did not record.
Oh,
But
come on.
let me find out here, because clearly they will never want to work with me after having just mocked them.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Cool Bugs Under Rocks. Oh, it has a cover now. It didn't have a cover when I looked at it earlier.
Hmm.
Published by Charming Games Collective. Well, now I just feel like a jerk.
As you should. Oh
It
man,
is actually charming cover art too. I'm kind of embarrassed now.
I'm gonna have to look it up
It's sort of
later.
cute. It looks like a little children's book.
I'm gonna reach out to them and pretend to be the diced onion and see if they'll send you a review copy.
All right. Round 3 is This sounds like it should be a Monty Python sketch.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Game one, rubbish bin excavators. One man's trash is another man's treasure, but in these alleys, everyone is hunting for the lucky rat. As a professional scavenger, you'll pick through a shared market of discarded napkins, wine bottles, and apple cores to build your grimy empire. Each set of three grants you the power to sabotage your rivals, steal their best finds, freeze one of their sets, or call the trash collector to wipe the market clean. But watch the clock. The moment someone claims the lucky rat by completing one set in each category, the dumpster is closed for good. It's a fast paced game of set collection and cutthroat scavenging where you'll be talking trash all night long. Rubbish bin excavators. Game 2, Fishmonger. Fishmonger consists of one game sheet and requires no other components, just a pencil for each player. Players buy fish wholesale at a market to resell to their clients. The game lasts 4 rounds, or hours, with each round broken into 2 periods. At the start of each hour, players secretly make a contract to sell fish and then bid on fish in the market. After 4 hours, players reveal the contracts made and sell their fish according to their contract prices. The player who collected the most money wins.
Hmm.
And finally, meat on swords.
So many jokes to be made with that one.
Here at Carne Espadas Brazilian Steakhouse, there's no such thing as a menu. We just bring you meat on swords until you give up or explode. In, in Meat on Swords, players declare before each round whether they are in or out for the round. Then the dealer asks each in player whether they want the next card on the deck. If they refuse the first card, they must take the next. Collecting points is good, but if you ever collect two of the same type of meat, you're knocked out. Meat on Swords is a simple, silly, press your luck game that just happens to use a 9 suited deck. It's 9 kinds of meat, each numbered 1 through 6.
And now I want to go to a Brazilian steakhouse for that.
I haven't been
Wow.
to a Brazilian steakhouse since college, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been to one too, but
All right. Which one is
oh
real, Chris?
man,
Rubbish bin excavators, fishmonger, or meat on swords?
I'm not gonna overthink it, and I'm just gonna go with rubbish bin excavators.
You got it. You nailed
Yes,
it.
I got one. Uh,
Rubbish bin excavators I made up.
got it.
Though
That makes it. At least I got one right.
I still
Okay,
feel like it was good. It was
I
good.
can, I can sleep good tonight knowing that I got at least one correct.
All right. Well, that's pretty good, Chris. A score of 2-1, I believe, makes me the winner of that round yet
That,
again.
yeah.
Just goes to show what I've always been saying. I'm an incredible liar. So I
I
guess
don't know
that's
that that's a
yeah,
quality you
I guess
want to
that's a
brag
victory.
about.
Well, I think 3 rounds of 2 truths and a lie was enough. I did have a fourth round and a fifth round ready to go, but sometimes, keeping it simple is the best way to go. Board games don't always do that, though, I think. And
No,
so maybe that's a good segue into our last topic here, which is just how much is too much.
there are a lot of layers to this question as well. And this is something that probably is going to be more of an ongoing conversation than we'll be able to tackle everything in one go here. But
Because that would be
um,
too much.
the puns just sell themselves here. Uh, but yeah, so I had a few thoughts on things that we could kind of dive into with this question. And kind of the first thing that I want to ask about is expansions. Joel, what is your thought, just your overall thought on expansions before we dive into examples or
Yeah.
justifications or anything?
So I think that what my thoughts are on expansions and what my practices are when purchasing expansions are two different things. My thoughts are like most games, you're going to get a lot of plays out of them before you need an expansion.
Yeah.
And some games, you're never going to need an expansion, right? Like there's enough in that base game. And I think a really well crafted game, like there's enough there that you don't need to keep going, right?
Hmm.
That simple box that you buy should be all you need to really have a satisfying experience repeatedly over many plays, right? That said, when I see a game and I'm like, I like that game, even if I've only played it once or maybe 0 times, do I often buy expansions for it? Yes, I do, and that is a problem that I have been slowly weaning myself off of over the
Mhm.
years because I think that, I understand why publishers publish expansions. Sometimes, they are there for adding more variety to the game. Sometimes it's like, hey, we initially had this idea, but now we're going to bring it back in an expansion, see if we can tweak it a little bit, all those sorts of things. And of course, the main reason to make money, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know. I think that uh, I would maybe rather more often see new original games versus just expansions. And in the big picture, there's plenty of games
Mhm.
that I love buying the expansions for, and I'll talk about those some too. But how about you? What's your take on expansions?
Yeah, it's really game dependent for me, right? Is it a game that I've played a lot?
That's a better answer.
I'm not. This is not a competition anymore. You won the last one. We're now on the same team here.
Okay.
But it really is dependent on the game, right? Like there are some games that we have played 50 times that having expansions is nice, right? Wingspan is one of those that we've played 30 or 40 times. It's nice to have different cards that you can cycle through to vary the experience a little bit. Did it need it? Probably not. But you see some people on the Wingspan group on Facebook that have played that game like 300 times.
Right.
At that point, yes, you want extra cards because you want to have a varied experience. And I think you kind of said this, but I think that's most gamers. You hear people talk about like if someone plays a game 10 times, that's a lot for one game.
Mhm.
I think that's crazy because why have a game? Why spend money on it if you're not, or keep it on your shelf even if you're playing it once or twice? If if we played a game once or twice and it's not hitting for us, I'm not going to keep it around if we're not going to play it.
Yeah.
Um, but expansions, it, I'm very mixed on. There's a lot of games that yes, I'm going to buy more content for. The Garfield directional quadrilogy that they're doing, I'm gonna buy those expansions because I want all the content for that series. Now, especially the latest trilogy, the South Tigris, did those games need an expansion? Absolutely not. There's so much to explore in them.
Mhm.
But then you look at Raiders of the North Sea, and at least the first expansion elevates that game and makes it better, I think. And so it just depends on the game. It depends on how much I like the game. It depends on my thoughts on it and if it's going to see enough plays to warrant adding more expansion
Do
content.
do you have a rule, Chris, for yourself, like an informal rule about how many play times you wanna play a game before you consider an expansion? Because I think for me, that's something I'm trying to think about a little bit more. Like I said, these are my bad habits, not necessarily everyone's bad habits, but I often have this tendency to be like, "Well, I really liked that game. If there's more content out there for it, I wanna pick that up."
Right.
And some of it is that, like, scarcity mentality of, like, maybe it's gonna go out of print, you never know, and some of it is that like collector's mentality of like if it's a thing I like, I want all of it. But I think the player's mentality, I think maybe should be the one I should be taking, which is like, how many times am I going to play this game before I feel like I've seen enough that I would like to add some more content to this? Do you have any kind of like rule or principle for yourself, or is it just go with
No,
your gut?
when we first got into the hobby, it was buy it all,
Hmm.
right? If there's a game that we like, get all the content for it because we need all the content for it. And
Right.
I've really slowed down on that. I probably buy more expansions than I need to. And one of the most recent ones I can think of is the Planet Unknown Supermoon expansion. I backed the crowdfunding campaign for it. And was I interested in the expansion content? Yes. Did I primarily back that campaign to have a lid for the Lazy Susan tile holder so they didn't go all over the box? Absolutely. Um, we played the expansion recently and we really enjoyed it, but the game doesn't need it. With the varied planets and corporation boards, there's nearly unending combinations that you can have, and every game is going to feel different. But the expansion was fun and we'll play it, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things like, will I use expansion content if I have it? Absolutely. Do I need it? More than likely not. The only game I will say without a doubt that I don't regret buying expansions for is probably Carcassonne.
Mm.
because that game was really vital in the beginning of our gaming journey, and we played it a lot. So adding the little expansions that just add a little bit, number one, they add more tiles, which makes the game more interesting, and they just kind of add a couple of layers of strategy and maybe a little bit more player interaction. Some of those expansions take a really clean, elegant game and just elevate the experience.
Sure.
Some of the later expansions, on the other hand, are not great, and I probably won't play with them very often. Did I need to buy those? No, probably not. I could have stuck with the 4 or 5 that were really good, but then the completionist in me found the other 2, and I was like, "Well, let's buy them. We might as well. We have all the others." So,
Yeah.
um, but that's kinda, some thoughts there for me.
I tend to buy there's a few kinds of expansions I really like. One of them is the more stuff expansion, right? Like, so
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily change up the game.
Right.
It just adds more variety to the game. I really
Yes.
like those sorts of expansions, and I know that the most recent expansions for Wingspan are not that, but I think they have a lot of expansions that are just that, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
it's more birds, more variety.
Which
Explore that,
the new expansion did add, like, 100 bird cards.
right?
So, I mean, it's got a lot of new birds, so, there's some of that as well. There's just
Yeah.
an additional module you can plug in.
Right. The other expansion I tend to find myself buying for games that I like, because I've also tried to slow down on the expansion purchasing, right? Is games that are scenario based. I really like to
Mm,
buy new expansions for those, for things like Arkham Horror, the Living Card Game, Cthulhu Death May Die, other games that are not Cthulhu themed, right? Those are just two examples that came to mind there. I really do like that, of that, a game is a scenario and here's a new scenario to try, right? um I probably could play the same Cthulhu Death May Die expansions, 6 or 7 times each, and still enjoy them every single time, but I
sure.
like that every time I'm going to that game, it's like a new experience, a new goal, a new set of room tiles to be placed, or a new map rather, to be placing
Mhm.
out and exploring and things. And I feel like that really helps bring keep that game in my mind as always fresh every time I'm playing it, right? Because it's always a new adventure that I'm going on. And so I like that kind of thing as well. There are other expansions though that it's like, the initial question is how much is too much? And I think there are expansions that do make a game too much, that make me less likely to
Mhm.
actually get the game out again, because now I'm thinking about, man, that game is good, but I don't know which of those expansions should I incorporate, or how many expansions should I incorporate, or even if it's all in one box, now I've got to dig through and figure out, you know, do I
Yeah.
remember which are expansion components and which are not? And for me, one of the like good examples of that is the Railroad Inc. games, right?
Mhm.
Like, they started as these really simple boxes. You had the red box or the blue box, and it's a complete game there. And in the box, there are 2 extra dice that you could use to change up the game a little bit. And I played Railroad Inc. Blue probably a dozen times and enjoyed it every time. And then they had a Kickstarter for new versions, right? And there was the challenge versions, yellow and green, and they were going to bring some new elements to the game. And so I was like, well, I'm
Mhm.
going to back that. And then as part of that Kickstarter, they end up saying like, well, also here's this giant challenge map you can play, and here are something like 15 different mini expansions that are each just 2 or 3 dice, but you'll include them and it'll change the rules. And I bought that, and then I almost never played Railroad Inc. again, because I was like, I don't even know what to do with all this stuff now. I don't know what.
Guilty as charged
Yeah,
also.
yeah. It's like what was such a simple, hey, let's pull this out. Everybody take a board. We're gonna roll some dice. Now it's like, which version am I gonna play? Which dice
Yeah.
am I gonna include? And I ended up selling it because I was like, I don't even like to think about the process of what was such a fast and easy game. Now takes too much thought and preparation to actually sit down and play.
Yeah. We've played some of those little mini expansions. We played a couple of them. And they're interesting. They all add something that's a little different strategy-wise and challenge-wise, but again, the question is, was it needed?
Right.
Right? I think adding the yellow and green editions was really cool because they added a little bit extra with those that
Yeah.
weren't in the red and blue editions, but they could have just left it at that. You've got 4 editions that each have 2 mini expansions in them.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 base games, you've got 8 potential mini expansions that can be mixed and matched, right? So that is more content than 99% of gamers are ever going to explore.
Exactly.
And are there some cool sounding mini expansions? Sure. But again, we're not pulling them out and playing them. And
Yeah.
so we spent all that money on it for what point?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So I definitely agree with you on that one. Although Caitlin and I have talked about taking a Saturday at some point and just playing Railroad Inc. all day and trying to explore some of the expansions. We'll see if we do or not. But
And that would probably be a fun experience. It's just would that be a more fun experience than, like, trying some different games, you know what I
sure.
mean? Or that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
Well, and I think that what you just mentioned about the Kickstarter campaign, that easily transitions into another how much is too much question, and that is crowdfunding. And that's
Mhm.
a whole other box of issues. But when you want to talk expansion content and too many boxes and too much content in a box, and you kind of mentioned when you're setting a game up having to sift through the content, one of the things that I struggle with is, well, now it takes longer to set up. There's more rules to go through, and I'm not going to remember them all. So I've got to
Mhm.
remember them. I've got to reteach them. And I think that's a huge thing with a lot of Kickstarters. Now, some Kickstarters, some crowdfunding campaigns are not that, but I think the ones that you hear the most about tend to be, the Cthulhu Death May Die, the
Mhm.
Ether Field, the insert Come On or Awaken Realms
Yeah.
Kickstarter that has 10 boxes that deliver with it. And, at what point do we need more of that as gamers?
Yeah.
And at what point are we investing too much money in one game that we're never going to see a return on?
Yeah.
But then, if that's what you want to do, and those are the types of games you like, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. But I always see those, and I have some people that I know that back some of those games, and it's like, but why? Because you don't have the people to play them with. You're never going to see a return on your investment. And I personally don't understand those types of campaigns.
That's an interesting phrase to use. It's not necessarily one I think of in terms of how I think about games and games that I back and stuff, return on investment. And I wonder if that would be an interesting topic for later for us to get into of how we think of whether or not a game is like worth it or not.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm certainly guilty of buying plenty of those, multi-box games, and I'm better at it now, right, than I was at the start. And partly, I think I've mentioned this before, is that I'm a mini painter, right? And so
Hmm.
I like those boxes that are going to give me a bunch of different minis and models that I can paint and explore because that is part of the pleasure that I take in the hobby, right? And at the same time, how often do those games beyond the base game, right, get to the table, coming back to expansions again, not nearly as often as I would like, right? And so that becomes one of those like combo pieces of like, yeah, there are a lot of boxes. This is probably too much. It's certainly too much for my shelf space, right? And at the same time, I do see value in some of those things as well, but it's not necessarily the value of is this impacting the gameplay,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, so I think that would definitely be something to think about. The other thing I thought about in terms of crowdfunding is there are a few types of crowdfunding campaigns that I often shy away from, right? And that is any sort of campaign that is adding merch to the process because I can justify to myself, maybe not to my wife who is listening now and probably
Hmm.
thinking like, how much have we spent on games? Which is not a question we need to talk about, Amelia. Don't worry about it. Uh, uh, but I can't justify the like, oh, and I also need a hat, and I also need a plushie, and I also need this cup with the name of the game on it, right? Like there are people who that is part of what they're excited about
Hmm.
is this is not just on my tabletop, it's inhabiting other aspects of my
It's my
life as
life.
well. But I am not one of those people, and it's an
Yeah.
instant turn off to me when I see that those sorts of things are added to a
Yeah.
crowdfunding campaign.
And I can agree with that to a point. If it's a game that I really like, I'm not opposed to potentially having a t-shirt depending on cost and the design. Or, if it's something that's included as a stretch goal, which you're already paying for, let's be real.
Right.
if there's a plushie included as a stretch goal and it's super adorable, I'm not going to be mad about it. Am I going to spend more money on it? No. But some of those things I think are really cool ideas, and it's all about the marketing and getting people excited and into the game. Again, are they needed? Absolutely not. But are some of them really fun? Also, yes.
See, I might be mad about it though, because I might be like, I could knock a few bucks off the cost of this and then later decide if I wanna buy the shirt or the plushie. Because 'cause I'm not opposed to merchandise, right? I'm opposed to
Sure.
the merchandise being locked into the Kickstarter. I don't
I
like
gotcha.
that combination. Because yeah, like, I have, like, a Stonemeyer Games hoodie that is, like, one of my most comfortable hoodies that I just bought that, right? Because I liked
Right.
the design of it and things like that. I'm not opposed to people having game shirts or having game plushies or those sorts of things. I For me, I just don't like them being part of the crowdfunding campaign when
And you
I'm
want
like,
choice.
I want choice, right?
You want
Yeah,
you want to be able to choose to buy it or not.
exactly. I don't want
And
it to Yeah, I don't
that's
want it to
fair.
be something that is foisted on me, and I don't want it to be something that is increasing costs that otherwise I would not have chosen to spend, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Now, the only thing I'll say to that is the Bitewing Space Game trilogy from Reiner Knizia that came out that delivered last year. They came with a Reiner Knizia plushie that was fantastic. And it was the dumbest thing ever. But not only did it have him in the theme of one of the games where you're aliens like dressed in a human suit, like think of like three aliens in a trench coat type of thing. Uh, he also had a little alien that you could open up his chest and it would come out. So like he's an alien dressed as Reiner Knizia in a plushie. It was so cool. It was so dumb, but it was fantastic.
Alright,
But
that's pretty adorable, I do like that.
but it's one of those things that was included in the cost. You're paying for it whether you I think they had a level where you could get it or not get it, so
Yeah,
that's a good choice to have.
yeah.
But my best friend got it and I laughed and made fun of it, but then he showed it to me and I was like, okay, that's actually pretty fantastic.
I love the level of nerdiness we're at when a board game designer plushie is, like, something that I'm like, "Yeah, that does sound pretty
That
cool,"
sounds fantastic.
It
I
also
mean,
it also makes me wonder, Chris, should this be our first merch? Chris plushies and Joel plushies? How
mm,
many could we sell, do you think?
I don't
Maybe
know.
2? Like, if
Do we
Caitlin
do
buys one and Amelia buys one?
plushies or bobbleheads? That's the question.
My head is already big enough. It's from all those games I've won,
Yeah.
all the lies that I've told you.
But it's okay. I'll forgive you. I think the crowdfunding conversation, and we've already talked last episode, that's going to be an ongoing one, right?
Yeah,
Because there's going to continue to be those crowdfunding campaigns. We're going to talk more about Concordia as we get closer to the release of that or the launch of that campaign. Um, but we talk box size and number of boxes in a campaign, and at some point our shelves can't hold all of that,
right.
right? So another question I have is like how much is too much personally to have in a collection? And I know that's a question that everybody's going to have a different answer to,
Sure.
right? Because everybody has different house sizes or space accommodations for their games, and um we're trying to really limit ourselves to mostly just be on this wall behind me, and we've had some overflow recently, but thankfully I sold some stuff at TokenCon, so we've got a little more space. We're gonna have to rearrange, but um, I'm okay having a little overflow. But at what point is having too many games in a single collection? What's the limit there? And the other kind of side question with that is some people consider themselves collectors more than players, and if that's where you want to go, that's up to you and your pocketbook and your space to decide. But I know for me, the purpose of having them is to play them. So when I get to a point where I'm not playing them all, I think personally that's a problem for me. But I'm
Yeah.
curious as to what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think right now, I when I saw this note in the show notes, I did a quick check on BGG on how many games are in my collection, and it is more than I would like, right? So,
Yeah.
there I have listed here owning 445 games. That
Does
is
that count expansions?
that does not count
Okay.
expansions. So that's just base games. That is a lot of games. Now, I can justify some of it and say, "Hey, 20 to 30 of those games are at school for the board game club, and, 20 of those are games that are wallet-sized games from when I was collecting a lot of Button Shy games," and, so on and so forth. But it is still, to me, too many games, right? And
Sure.
partly, like you said, it is a question of space. We don't have a huge house, and so I do not want to feel like board games are the only thing we have decorating our house, right?
Why
A-
not?
and part of it is that does remind me though. My mom has watched our podcast and she said it's so funny to see you guys. You both have this big collection of games behind you. And I was like, this is the style, the aesthetic of the board
Aesthetic.
gamer, right? We have to look
Yeah.
like we have huge collections, but I do have a huge collection, and it's huger. Huger is not a word, but it's bigger than I want it to be because of that thing that you talked about, right? Like, I don't always feel like I can get to the games that I want to play more frequently because
Yeah.
I've got so many other games that I, whether it's because they're review copies or because I just haven't played it in a long time and I want to get to it, that I'm not getting to things in the rate that I want it to. And so that's one of my goals really for 2026 is to cut down this collection quite a bit, and have fewer games. And at the same time, that's really hard to do because
Absolutely.
so many of these games are games that I have fond memories of. Even if it's just one or two plays, it's like,
Hmm.
oh, I remember playing this with these buddies at this cabin, or I remember, this was one of the first games that Amelia got into games, and so I don't want to get rid of that. I've got like a sentimental attachment to it, or whatever
Right.
the case is,
Absolutely.
and it's a little bit silly, but for me, it's too many. Now, in this grand scheme of people who post on BGG, I mean, those are still small numbers, right? Like,
Right.
there are
Absolutely.
people with thousands of games in their collection, and while I look at that and be like, I don't understand that at all, right? As you said, people have their own reasons for wanting to collect things, whether it's their hosting or they just like them on their shelves, or whatever it is.
Or
I
they
try
have
not.
more space than I do,
Exactly, and I don't wanna get in the business, as you said, of, like, judging people for those sorts of
Absolutely
things.
not.
Just like I hope people aren't judging me when I admitted that number, which is, to me, was a little bit. I felt sheepish when I saw that number and things, right?
I
Uh,
won't say mine, so I don't make you feel bad.
yeah, I know it's gonna be a lot less, so, you have more self-control than I do. These are things we know already, so
I don't know that I'd say that. You saw me at Gen Con last year.
but I do think that, that is really a personal question, is to figure out, like, what is the right number for me, and am I letting my collection get out of control just because I can, or am I getting my collection to a place where I want it to be because that's what I
Hmm.
feel like is the right number? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that, that I line up with that thought exactly. And we definitely don't want to come across judgmental. These are just thoughts that we're processing for ourselves. And it's going to involve talking about the outliers of the situation. But um, it's one of those things for me that I pretty much agree with you there that, like, personally, am I okay with where my collection's at? And right now I am. I culled some games this past week at Token Con. I haven't updated my collection yet. It was at 278. It's probably down in the upper 250s at this point because I
Yeah.
think I sold about 20 games. And I really personally would like to be around that 250 mark.
Yeah.
I think that's a sweet spot for me because it's number one, I can fit it. Number two, it's not so big that I'm not going to get to them. And a side question with that is the shelf of shame or shelf of opportunity, whatever you want to call it. I know
Right.
I've seen people with bigger shelf of shames than my whole collection,
Right.
and at that point, it's like, okay, I can't comprehend that.
Yeah.
But again, that's just, that's up to the individual to decide at what point is it getting out of hand. But I think it's an interesting thought and conversation to have. So,
Well, and it is a conversation I think people should have with themselves, right? Like, I think it's like many things. It's easy to sort of just let things balloon without realizing it, because this is a consumer driven hobby, right?
uh
It is a hobby that centers around buying something frequently. Now, yes, there are plenty of ways to enjoy this hobby without buying a lot. I totally get
absolutely.
that. And at the same time, like, it is a hobby that is about a thing that is sold in stores, and the way that we keep the hobby going is to buy those things that are sold in stores, right?
Right.
Like that's literally it. And so I think it's just something that people do need to kind of be honest with themselves about, like, where is that number for me? I would love to get down. I think 250 is a good goal. I like that number, right? It's enough that you can reasonably play all your games in a year if you want to, right?
Absolutely.
And right now I don't feel like I can, and that's a
Mhm.
weird feeling.
Yeah. But
So
it's funny because even that number, there's so many people in our lives that are like, I don't
that's
understand why you have,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so stupid. Um, all of my family thinks that.
Yeah.
And my kids love to when they have new friends or new people come over. Guess how many games we have? And I'm like, can we just not make it weird? Like they don't care and they think we're weird. So let's not make a bigger deal out of it than you need to make. They can see we have a lot of games. It's in our dining room. So
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not one of those people also that's like, I want a lean 20 game collection. I don't. I like
no.
games more than that, and I like a
Mhm.
variety of experiences.
Now
Uh,
I can respect somebody that
absolutely.
wants to set those harsh parameters. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in
Yeah.
doing that. So
Yeah. I think what my goal is to get it down to a number that I'm happy with and a space that I'm happy with, and then institute a game in, game out policy, right? Which I think is a reasonable thing, to
yeah.
prevent it from getting to be too much yet again.
Yep.
So,
Well, and again, there's so much we could talk about. I mean, you even said I've got to figure out what's too much for me. And there's more layers to this conversation than we even have time for today. We could talk about second editions of games. That's a big thing right now. We could talk about upgrades and extra pieces and inserts. We could talk about just the whole overall game hobby in general and how much the market can hold and bear and support. And is that bubble ever going to burst? But
mhm.
um, to prevent us from talking too much about what's too much, I think that's probably a good place for us to wrap up today, don't you?
I agree. Yeah, that's a good place to stop. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's the number one way we can grow the show and bring you more Oak and Onion action. And if you want to learn more about what we're up to, you can follow Chris on Instagram as CPWilson_4.
And Joel is on Instagram and TikTok as the Diced Onion.
You can also follow our Facebook page at Oak and Onion. If you have ideas for show segments, suggestions for games we should play, or just want to say hi, you can email us at oakonionpodcast@gmail.com. And Chris, I think we should start a regular policy now where every show I ask you, has anyone emailed us yet? So maybe one day we'll be able to answer yes.
Maybe one day. The answer is no currently, except for the email we got from Google saying, hey, we think you're a bot and we're locking your account. That was an exciting moment.
First email, not so
First
great.
email.
All right. Or you can follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at Oak Onion Podcast. Until next time, keep your onions fresh, your cutting boards clean, and your table welcoming to everyone. We'll catch you next time. We're going to go sleeve some cards.
Put Perch from Inside Up Games on the Chop Dadgummit. I had weird pause. Okay. Let's try. Hey, we got further than we did the first episode.
Progress.
Progress.
Chris, tell us what the chopping block's all about.
All right. We want to start every review segment with our disclosure policy. Let's try that again. Our disclosure policy.
This game. Let me take that back. Try that again.
Okay.
Edit that out. I don't want to overstate that. No, what am I trying to say? But I could have gone for a few more. Oh, goodness.
The best part is you didn't have to keep trying. You could have just kept going and left it. You kept trying to fix it and it got worse each time.
Oh, it's just like my life.
Oh, so sad.
Okay, let me try that again.
Okay. Oh, breathe. That was good. But hey,
Yeah.
we're under
We are
2
under
hours.
hours, and that's before any of the edits, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're making progress.